Regine Galvez, the reporter for today's discussion, Tracking Lesson and Microteaching Base. But before we proceed, let's first have our lesson objectives. At the end of this discussion, the learners will be able to define what is lesson tracking and microteaching basic, differentiate lesson tracking from microteaching basic, and apply the importance of lesson tracking and microteaching basic into real-life scenarios. Let's proceed. What is tracking? Tracking is a strategy used to reduce the cognitive load as the learners process information. The learners group content into small, manageable units, making the information easier to process. Essentially, tracking helps the learners process breaking long tiring of information into bite-sized chunks that are easier to remember. Thus, breaking down information into smaller, more manageable portions offers several advantages for students. Firstly, this approach enhances the learner's process by reducing cognitive overload when students are presented with vast amounts of information all at once. It can be overwhelming, leading to decreased comprehension and retention. However, dividing the content into smaller segments, students can concentrate on one specific topic or concept, making it easier to understand and remember. Let's take the example of learning new vocabulary word in English. Instead of trying to memorize a long list of words individually, you can use tracking to group related words together based on their meaning and associations. For instance, you are learning words related to the weather. You could chunk words like sunny, cloudy, rainy, or windy together as they pertain to weather conditions. By organizing words into thematic groups, it becomes easier to remember and understand them, reducing the cognitive load and enhancing your language learning process. The purpose of lesson tracking, it helps students grasp and retain information more effectively by focusing on a smaller portion of content at a time. Tracking helps students identify keywords and ideas, develop their ability to paraphrase, and make it easier for them to organize and synthesize information. In a learner-centered teaching, lesson tracking serves several key purposes that aligns with the principle of student-centered education. First is enhance student engagement. Breaking lesson into smaller, more digestible chunks promotes active learning and students' engagement. Learners are more likely to participate and interact with the material when it's presented in a manageable format. Individualized learning. Lesson tracking allows learners to progress at their own pace. It accommodates diverse learning styles and speeds, giving each student the flexibility to delve deeper into a topic or seek additional support when needed. Self-directed learning. In a learner-centered teaching, it encourages students to take ownership of their education. Lesson tracking empowers them to choose how they engage with the material, fostering a sense of autonomy and self-direction in their learning. Active participation. In a learner-centered environment, students are encouraged to ask questions, share ideas, and participate actively. Lesson tracking facilitates opportunities for discussion, debates, and group activities with each segment. Higher retention. Smaller portions of content are more conducive to memory retention. Students are more likely to remember and apply what they've learned when it's presented in manageable, meaningful units. In a learner-centered teaching approach, lesson tracking empowers students by giving them the control, choice, and supportive learning environment. It enhances their engagement, understanding, and retention of the material, ultimately leading to a more effective, meaningful educational experience. Now, let's proceed to the benefits of lesson tracking. Tracking enhances comprehension, reduces cognitive overload, and supports active learning. It's a useful strategy in curriculum design. Absolutely. Tracking is a highly effective strategy in curriculum design. Its major benefits include enhancing comprehension, reducing cognitive overload, and supporting active learning. By breaking down complex topics into smaller manageable chunks of information, educator can greatly facilitate the learning process. In enhanced comprehension, when content is organized into smaller, coherent sections, students find it easier to grasp and understand each part. This approach simplifies complex subjects and allows learners to focus on one concept at a time, leading to deeper comprehension. Reduce cognitive overload. Cognitive overload occurs when learners are presented in an overwhelming amount of information. Tracking combats this by presenting content in a structured, step-by-step manner. This enables students to absorb information without feeling overwhelmed, resulting in improved retention. Lastly, support for active learning. Smaller or chunk encourage active learning by promoting engagement and interaction with the material. Students can ask questions, seek clarification, and discuss individual sections, fostering a more participatory and inquisitive learning environment. In curriculum design, effective tracking involves carefully structuring lesson, modules, or courses to ensure that content is logically organized and presented in a way that aligns with the learner objectives. It helps educator guide students through the learner process, ensuring that they can build upon their knowledge. Ultimately, tracking is a valuable tool for educators to enhance the educational experience and facilitate better understanding and retention of the material. Now let's have the microteaching basic, in which microteaching is a teaching techniques where a teacher conducts a class for a small group of students at a given time. This approach allows the learners to focus on honing specific teaching skills or techniques, identify areas where they need to improve, and receive feedback on their performance in real time. It also allows teachers to demonstrate the depth of their knowledge and understanding of the subject matter in a low-stress environment to help educators improve their teaching skills in a controlled and supportive environment. The concept involves breaking down the teaching process into smaller or the micro segments, allowing teachers to focus on a specific aspect of their instructions. Microteaching in a learner-centered teaching approach involves using the microteaching methodology to develop and refine teaching skills that prioritize the needs and engagement of students. Here are some examples of how the microteaching can be used to develop and enhance learner-centered teaching practices. First is facilitating Socratic seminars, in which, in a micro-teaching session, a teacher can practice facilitating Socratic seminars where students engage in an open-ended, student-led discussion on a particular topic. The teacher can work on their ability to guide and support this discussion while allowing students to take the lead. Problem-based learning scenarios. Teacher can design micro-teaching sessions that focus on creating and implementing PBL scenarios. They can practice presenting real-world problems to students and guiding them through the problem-solving process, promoting critical thinking and collaboration. Peer teaching and learning circles. Teacher can use micro-teaching to improve their skills in setting up peer teaching opportunities and learning circles, where students take turns teaching each other. This fosters a sense of a shared responsibility for learning and encourage collaboration. Active learning techniques. Teacher can explore active learning strategies in micro-teaching such as problem solving, role-playing, simulation, and hands-on experiments. They can refine how these activities are integrated into lesson to engage students actively. Lastly, reflective journals and portfolios. In a micro-teaching session, educators can experiment with introducing reflective journals or digital portfolios as tools for students to document their learning journey and set personal growth. The goal of each micro-teaching activities is to provide you an opportunity to design and facilitate a lesson using a specific method of instructions covered in a class. So from your experiences, you can observe or documenting what happened, and through your observation, there comes the reflection, investigating or reflecting from your actions and to what have you observed, and after is the planning, making plans on how to do the action or how you will do the learning process that will enable the learners to learn. Both of these concepts are instrumental in effective teaching and learning, helping educators create more engaging and impactful lessons while continually improving their teaching techniques. My major takeaway from a lesson on tracking and microteaching is that tracking is a cognitive strategy where information is broken down into smaller, manageable pieces making it easier to remember and understand. While the microteaching is a teaching techniques where educators practice teaching in a controlled setting to improve their teaching skills incrementally, both concepts are important for effective learning and teaching.